Now, when it comes to everything that is going on from the aftermath of Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, from all the praise coming Kendrick's way to all the sadness that is around Drake, one thing I think everyone is forgetting about is that despite Kendrick Lamar reaching an all-time high at the Super Bowl, which has been proven as now Kendrick is the most watched halftime show of all time, which in of itself is such a big milestone for both him and hip-hop, that despite Kendrick just putting rap's crown in a place where it has never been further away from the number 2 MC in the genre, all in all, while it may be game over for Drake and the conversation about who is number 1 in hip-hop, Kendrick is not done building out the world and finishing the story he is trying to tell in this moment, and through all the messaging in the Super Bowl, which of course there was a lot, one of the most important yet not talked about aspects of the entire performance was seemingly right in front of our own eyes, as within all the messages that Kendrick Lamar had in his performance for the ages, he also told us that more music is coming soon, and while we have been questioning what's really in store for us, it seems like at this point what we can expect is a second chapter in what is becoming one of the most iconic eras we have ever seen from any rapper, with of course none other than a continuation of GNX. But now before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And so now with Kendrick Lamar, at this point with where we are at, despite the fact that Kendrick has tied his entire identity to winning and pushing things up no matter how others have tried to change that, it is still shocking just seeing how high he is reaching, because really for any rapper and any artist for that matter ever, Kendrick is joining a club that only the greatest of greats can even get into, because he is now just at the point where he is really so dominant over the rest of the entire field and industry of music that ultimately he is only competing with himself, as from the fact that he is guaranteed to have the number 1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 this week, but it's either going to be Luther or Not Like Us, to now Kendrick having the most monthly listeners of any rapper ever at almost 90 million, to even the fact that Kendrick Lamar is taking the number 1 spot on the Billboard chart with GNX with ease this week, and also that Good Kid Mad City and Damn are joining it in the top 10 as well, which is going to put Kendrick within a rare tier of artists who have 3 albums charting in the top 10 of the Billboard 200 at the same time. Overall, with all of this, Kendrick has more than proved that he is a problem for the music industry, as he is really putting up numbers that only the best musicians can ever do in their prime. And now seemingly in this time of dominance, what's interesting is that right after the Super Bowl and when Kendrick has never had more command over everything, none other than Drake is trying to step into this arena and is going to challenge Kendrick not with petty antics directly or paperwork this time, but with his actual album that nobody asked for, SS4U with Party Next Door. And now with Drake making a play where he is going to try and take his place back and do so with the charts, while Kendrick is definitely not scared, because all these records are showing that he has more control over even the charts, which used to be Drake's go-to talking point, than he ever has. For Drake, he is seemingly going to regret trying to go against the tallest peak we have ever seen from a rapper with a mid-collection of songs that sound like throwaways from the previews we have heard. And really, beyond Drake just competing with Kendrick's literal peak eras, as not just GNX currently, but his past albums are all topping the charts, seemingly whether it's right when Drake drops this album or in the following few weeks, Drake's downfall is not just going to be cemented by the eyes of hip-hop, the culture, and the people, but ultimately Drake is going to lose that same numbers game he tried to play over and over again. Because what is so clear right now, especially within this moment where Kendrick has more to do in terms of just reshaping hip-hop, and he's only adding to his list as he just increased the entire run of shows he is doing with his Grand National Tour with SZA, is that the world of what is his shortest project is finally gonna get that expansion we have all been expecting. And we all know this because, again, while Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance did focus on the present of what he has accomplished and not the past, it did also lean into what the future of it is gonna look like, as before Kendrick did anything else, he of course began the show by rapping on top of his GNX with that same unreleased snippet we heard when he released a trailer for the record right before it came out. And now with this moment, I mean, before we go any further into what this all means, Kendrick really is just a genius at building excitement and drawing his listeners in, because this is a strategy from him to always give a little hint to fans now that the world he is building and the story we are now going to see is about to continue soon, is from the Not Like Us music video where Squabble Up was teased, to the GNX trailer all the way to the Super Bowl now. Kendrick Lamar playing this snippet was an intentional move to make sure that the hype for his next release is even higher than ever, because with having the most watched Super Bowl audience of all time now experiencing his catalog and set list, But being unable to listen to this one moment that started it all off, at this point is just increasing the hype very similar to the way Squabble Up did, but at a way higher level. And of course, when you consider what Kendrick has to gain from allowing this audience to access all of this music, of course we are going to end up getting an official release of this song, and I am sure when we do, we will finally get the complete version, as even from the GNX trailer to the Super Bowl itself, Kendrick let us hear more of the song in this moment, which seemingly gave us a glimpse into just how hard-hitting and high-level the entire pocket Kendrick performing is on this track as a whole. And seemingly with some bars on this track that alluded to his rising #1 spot in the rap game, it seems like this song or whatever else may be connected to it will end up being another victory lap for Kendrick, but also with some of the other lines and just the general demeanor Kendrick has here, it does seem like he is going to be letting out an entire new side of him as well. And with all of this, what this really feels like is the start of a new chapter to an extent, because this song's entire atmosphere just levels up the stakes of what we hear from Kendrick. And now what I personally think this is all going to lead up to is what is going to become very soon what we know as the deluxe, or even more likely to be called something more along the lines of a complete edition to GNX, where beyond whatever else we can predict and say, we're going to be hearing Kendrick rap about the full aftermath of not just the Drake beef like we saw on the first half of GNX, but the aftermath of Kendrick bringing rap to the biggest stage you ever could, and the aftermath of all the new reactions and rivals that have come his way both in hip-hop and beyond. Because really, even though GNX is still a relatively new project, there is so much Kendrick still has to address and rap about, and I don't think he is going to leave things yet, because when it comes to everything he is trying to accomplish and put within its proper context, there is just an array of other stories that need to be told. And even in the context of GNX, while the record is fantastic and feels complete within itself, knowing the lore around Kendrick Lamar and his catalog and what he has teased and all of the themes that the album brings up, it still feels like between that and this snippet we now have heard all the way at the Super Bowl that there is another side of this whole chapter that Kendrick still wants to explore, and based on the way he raps here, it may end up even being a lot more intense and dynamic. And again, with Kendrick teasing this song now twice and at the Super Bowl of all places, which again with the run Kendrick is having, I don't think we realize how unprecedented it is to do that. It is guaranteed Kendrick to pretty much get another #1 record when this song does come out, just from the hype it has alone. And now while trying to dive any further deeper into what this type of story or thing Kendrick is going to accomplish here is pretty much impossible, because I am sure with what this project and song is going to lead to, there is of course so much more than we even think now. What I can say that is pretty much going to guarantee that this record will drop soon, because beyond speculating on the art, this gives us direct insight into how Kendrick is changing the music industry and how he can navigate it, is that when it comes to his Super Bowl performance, aside from being in the present and telling the amazing story he did, one of the other reasons why all but 3 songs Kendrick did were from the most recent era of his career is because of the fact that as now he is the leader of PG Lang and is no longer in the same deal he was in for the rest of his career. He has ownership of this new music within a way that he didn't in the past. And as Kendrick, in addition to changing hip-hop as an art form right now, is actually changing the music business for the better, because the industry has handed him the keys in hip-hop, and despite what Drake wants to say, he still has full creative control over what he does, because everything he does is his. What Kendrick is now also showing with GNX and the Super Bowl and how this album has been performing is that he is now building a catalog in this era of his career that is worth even more than what he has had in the past. But overall, to expand this catalog with more meaningful and impactful music, there is of course even bigger rewards if he succeeds. And now as Kendrick only has the 12 songs from GNX, Not Like Us, Euphoria, and Meet the Grams to benefit from this in full right now, in terms of just how much he can level up the game, he is nowhere near what he wants to do, and even just by adding another half of GNX, which is around 10 to 12 songs, all of a sudden this new catalog he is building becomes one of the most valuable collections of music out currently. And so now with all of this, as we are seeing Kendrick just command everything in the music, from the industry side of things to the art form, and right now the next chapter of what he is about to do is all revolving around the snippet that we heard him play at the Super Bowl, what's clear is that this is arguably the most important song in the music industry right now, as it's pretty much a key that will eventually unlock rap's next genre-changing door. And when this does happen, which seemingly will be soon, for Drake, the industry, and everyone else, you better get ready for Kendrick to just get even better in this time, and overall just make an even stronger legacy and presence within everything he does. And so now with all this said, let me know, what do you think about what's next for Kendrick, how all of this is going to work, and what do you think about this unreleased song as a whole? And really, with this entire level of control we are seeing with Kendrick over the industry, how do you think this is going to affect Drake and ultimately make his new album perform? Now, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how just as Kendrick is getting ready to increase his lead over the rap game, Drake is still in shambles over what happened at the Super Bowl, check out the suggested video.